claim a seat. There are a couple here in the front row. It looks like maybe a couple in the second row as well. One on the end here. So feel free to come on forward and take a comfortable seat with the front row view if you're so inclined to do. I'm Elizabeth Bennion. I am a professor of political science and campus director of the American Democracy Project at Indiana University South Bend. And we are delighted to partner with the League of Women Voters of the South Bend area to bring you this candidate debate this evening. This candidate debate features candidates running in South Bend Common Council District 6, which is not this district, but very close by. And we are delighted to be here in the Civil Rights Heritage Center, and we thank Director George Garner for making this possible. The Civil Rights Heritage Center is one of the outreach missions, in a way, of Indiana University South Bend, and so it's a very important part of our campus community. Today, what we will do is we will hear a little bit from each candidate. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to tell you a little bit about themselves and their priorities, why they're running for office, and then we'll go to your questions. I have lots of note cards. We'll try to get to them all. I've grouped some together. Some of them are quite similar, so that we can at least address the topic you asked about, if not in your exact words. In your program this evening, you also have note cards. If you have a question during the forum, you can write it on a note card and raise your card in the air, and a volunteer will come and collect that and get that to me. If you don't have a card but you want one, you can raise your hand, and Judy Bradford from the League, somewhere, she'll be gathering those up. And then we also have a survey, so please do let us know if you have ideas for future events and what you thought about this evening's event. This is the 10th of 10 events for us at the American Democracy Project, so we're very excited to bring you this event, but also to be approaching Election Day. You can find footage of past events, both the Elkhart and South Bend mayoral candidate forums, as well as Meet Candidate forums in Mishawaka and South Bend, and then Common Council candidate forums for the at-large candidates, which you would also be, if you're in District 6, you'll vote for one of these District 6 candidates. You will also vote for 3 of the 5 at-large candidates. We are encouraging people not to necessarily do a party line vote across all of these 3 cities, because what is happening in these at-large races is that your votes are not necessarily being counted. So you do want to go in and pick each of your candidates when you go to the polls on or before November 5th between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Let's turn to the candidates, because that's who you've come to hear from. And based on the result of a coin toss, Sheila Niezgodski will go first.
Good evening, and thank you to the American Democracy Project of IUSB and the League of Women Voters of South Bend and the South Bend Civil Rights Heritage Center for hosting tonight's 6th District debate. I would like to thank my family and everyone here this evening for taking the time out of your evening to be here tonight. My name is Sheila Niezgodski, and I am proud to be the Democratic nominee for the 6th District Common Council. I have lived in the 6th District for 20 years now. I am a veteran of foreign war and served during Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm while serving in the United States Army. I am currently the office manager of Niezgodski Plumbing. It's a union shop that was established in our community in 1922. And while my husband serves in the Indiana General Assembly, I run our family-owned business. And I have to tell you, I am extremely excited to be running for the 6th District seat. I deeply believe in the mission statement of the Common Council that says to make certain that our city government is always responsive to the needs of its resident, and the betterment of our community is always its highest priority. And I pledge to live up to that statement to the best of my ability. I am running for the 6th District seat because I want to serve the residents. If elected, my voice on the Common Council will be one of reason and common sense, and I will strive to help our local businesses grow, and I will look for every opportunity to bring new, good-paying jobs to the district. Through the years, I have been active on our community. That was 90 seconds?
So much to say.
Wow, okay. Well, I'm sorry, I did not get to finish the rest of my statement. However, I do thank you for being here tonight, and I ask for your support and your vote on November the 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear next from Eli Cantu.
Okay. So, Eli Cantu, I have been, well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity, even though I'm not on the ballot. Eli Cantu, I'm running as a write-in. So I know this is last minute, and I know we put this together, but I appreciate being on here to present my platform, even though I'm not on the ballot. But so me, a little bit about me. I've been here in South Bend 21 years. In my time here, I am currently the vice president of the Run Village Neighborhood Association, which is the only association in the 6th District. I'm also a DJ at Sabor Latino, which is 93.5. And there's a large audience that's Latino in the 6th District that I cater to due to this radio station. Also, I've been privileged to work for the SB South Bend School Corporation at Jackson Middle School. I have risen to be the PTO president when I was there. I'm also part of the Community Relations Committee. But I think the most proud thing that I'm proud of that I've done is Team Relentless, which is an organic grassroots initiative that I've started to teach the youth discipline, civic duty through cleanups, and it's through these grassroots that I want to be inclusive and bring the neighborhoods so we can too be part of South Bend's comeback.
Thank you. First question, and it will go first to Mr. Cantu. If elected, do you have a plan to bring more jobs into your district? And if so, do you believe that companies should be required to pay their workforce a fair living wage?
As for the last part of the question, of course, it's only right. As far as bringing jobs, so there's two things. I'm thinking about TIF. I'm thinking about industrial jobs coming on from foreign, and I'm also thinking about giving opportunities to people that are here in town to either help them out to start a business, and if not to start, even to teach them or give them that opportunity to be part of that industry that we need here in South Bend. I always think about Oliver Studebaker. You know, companies that are world known but are from here. These are people that are organically from here, and I think that's what we should, if we want to make it or get put on the map, it should be through people that are here living in this area, not because of people that we bring. But I do understand that we need to compete as a 21st century city, so we do need to bring those jobs. For that reason, I want to educate the people here to be qualified for that type of job instead of having to bring people from out of town to benefit from this. Same thing with the jobs that they get the TIF funding. I would like for local employees to benefit from this money instead of hiring from out of town.
Thank you. Ms. Niezgodski.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, if elected, do you have a plan to bring more jobs into your district? If so, do you believe that companies should be required to pay their workforce a fair living wage?
Well, first I would like to say that I believe in local jobs for local workers in our community. I want to make that clear. And a living wage is a start. As far as bringing good jobs, I believe that we should do everything to bring good jobs. When people come to the council that want to invest in our community, we talked about TIF districts, TIFs. That is true. But there's also things that you can offer them. Relationship building. What type of workforce do we have? Or do we have skilled workers in our community that meet the need of that employer? And you can do those partnerships through many different ways. Infrastructure, do we have good infrastructure? If you don't have a good sound infrastructure, companies aren't going to look to locate here. So if you're able to say, yep, we can partner up with the buildings, offer them a tax incentive. A lot of other people, such as Mishawaka, offer that, and it is a slow phase-in for taxes, but it's also a way to lure those companies that want to make $1 million investments in our community here. So it's not that it's free, it is a phase in, I wanna make that clear. And we have had a few companies in the 6th district that are doing that, and one is over on Sample, and it's a multi-million-dollar investment in our community. So that would be part of my plan to lure work to our district.
Thank you. Mr. Cantu, you have 30 seconds if you'd like it. I forgot to explain this to the audience and remind the candidates we're doing a format. So the first candidate, then we'll hear from the other candidate, and the candidate who spoke first will have 30 seconds to respond if they want.
Responding to the same question. Furthermore, I think going off of what she said, I don't know if she fully tapped into it, but as far as making deals with Notre Dame, we make deals with them all the time when it comes down to zoning and everything else. Why can't we do some of that retention to where they promote for local work? Certain agreements that we may come across that we could derive those types of students that are at Notre Dame to work in the city that they're in. Why would they not want to fortify the city that they're drawing from?
Thank you. Our second question will go first to Ms. Niezgodski. It says, given Mayor Pete's candidacy for president, national media has focused a lot on crime in South Bend. As a council member, how do you plan to address the issue with the South Bend Police Department and the community?
Well, recently they have just passed the 2020 budget. And in that budget, they have incorporated monies for programs like GBI, and in fact increased it. The SAVE program, the Police Athletic League. These are organizations that work together in the community to start with our youth, to reach out to people that are in trouble, and to show them a path of, to be involved positively in our community. So for me, it's about building relationships within the community, and it's starting with our youth. I believe mentorship programs are so important. The SAVE programs that goes into the schools and helps lure those kids that may be having problems. It's like a mentorship program. And that is so important to build those relationships young, to let them realize that they are the next generation that is going to lead our community.
Thank you. Mr. Cantu.
So crime pressure. So I think as far as the way you asked it with the cops, what kind of relationships, what I would do, what I've been advocating this year is strongly to have positive neighborhood engagements to where we have police we have been having many events that we had that they had out there in the parks, but they weren't really advertised. What I was proposing is even intramural races, tug of wars, things like that could bring the neighborhood and bridge that gap between the neighborhood and the police and the way we're looked at each other. So when it comes to a crime and how to prevent it, we must understand it first and how it's coming from. When we think about kids, man, those kids that just can't get right. When you think about the toxic stress they experience in their lives within the first 5 years of their lives, and you start to figure out that they're more prone to certain things, that is the first, I always use like the spilling milk, the spilling of the milk. If the gallon of milk is spilling, if we wipe up the milk, and guess what, we still have more milk spilling. So what we got to do is pick up the milk jug, which is addressing the kid issues as an infancy. But for the milk that's already spilled, for example, we just had a peace summit yesterday. We had great attendance, and we had people from the reentry center be part of this event. And I think that's part of the spilled milk is when we re-welcome back into community so they can get their heart to re-engage back with society as they once lost it. So I think that's part of the cleaning up the thing that's the spilled milk that's already done. But yeah, I hope I explained myself correctly.
30 seconds, Mrs. Niezgodski.
Again, it's really partnerships in our community. It's trusting one another. It's working together. The group violence intervention program, the police athletic league, those are community building skills. We have to recognize that our children need us and we need them. They are the next generation in our community. And building those relationships with the police department is important. And it starts there, and it's a two-way street. They have to have, they need us, and we need them.
Okay, this next question is related. It says, many people in South Bend are concerned about gang violence. What have you done in the past or will you do in the future to fight against the growth of gangs? Mr. Cantu.
First of all, I want to bring to attention these gangs, these groups, these social groups that form naturally. And I just had a summit yesterday where we had so many. I don't want to waste my time and name them all, but we had a group of plethora of clubs that naturally form. So what I want to do is kind of understand why these groups happen, decriminalize the action of it, understand really what's going on, redirect in a positive manner, but still find a way to be inclusive of the 60% of people that are not registered in South Bend. How are we going to be inclusive of everybody and benefit from everybody if we don't know their attributes, if we don't know who they are, if we don't know what they can do for society? So I think part of violence, addressing the violence, is understanding who's doing it and maybe working with them to either remove the stigma, address the issue, or work together to address the issue. So I think that's a very important question. How do we address the way we look at it? How do we treat one another when it comes down to judging people for their creeds, their religions, their different ways of thinking? Part of, again, being inclusive is bringing everybody together, understanding their backgrounds, how they come from, and they are different from us, but they can still be part of this society in a positive manner.
Ms. Niezgodski.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, many people in South Bend are concerned about gangs and gang violence. What have you done in the past or will you do in the future to fight against the growth in gangs?
Well, there is activity in our community, and what I say is one loss of life is one too many in our community. Our police department used to have a drug task force. I believe that needs to be brought back to the South Bend Police Department. There's also a budget out. In that budget, they have in that budget for 4 more police officers in our streets. The gangs themselves, that starts again with mentoring programs, after-school programs, access to resources, employment. There's apprenticeship programs, partnership programs. We have to engage our youth before they get an offer to do something that may look glamorous, but it really is not. And it's introducing drugs into our neighborhoods, and it's literally killing our youth and the residents in our country, in our community. And I know that's a strong word, but it's happening. And for me, we have to eliminate the drugs and violence out of our community, and that starts with our youth. Mentoring is so important. We have to capture them and let them know that they are our future.
Thank you. Mr. Cantu, 30 seconds.
Yeah, if you follow GVI, and the reason they're here is because they have recognized that it's not gangs really part of this activity, it's groups, certain groups. And since we tied up gangs with drugs, let me make it clear that the reason gangs are here and the reason drugs are here are 2 different things. An economic reason, that's the reason that the drugs come into the neighborhoods, not because gangs bring them on, no, because that is the way young kids make a living. That's the way people make a living. It's an economic issue of lack of resources for entrepreneurs. You obviously got, we just got to recognize that we got entrepreneurs out there and know how to use them. They're going to use this ability of theirs regardless. These people in the neighborhoods, they're not always going to buy the way we see things. How do we make them inclusive, nonetheless?
Thank you. All right, the next question will go first to Ms. Niezgodski. It says, how should a politician's own personal religion affect their political behavior? And another person had a similar question. How will your religion affect your political beliefs and behavior as an elected official?
Well, church and state are 2 totally different things. I don't believe that it should have an influence on a decision. There may be something I disagree with one religion. Maybe I'm Catholic, maybe I'm a Protestant. There's Hindus, Jewish people. There's so many in our community that you have to be able to take into consideration everyone at the table. To have a personal influence in that, I think, is wrong because it's not a clear representation of everyone in our community.
Mr. Cantu.
So I grew up going to church 3 times a week and very heavily, all the way till maybe 13. And I mean, I gotta admit, as a Christian, I haven't been really active. And I just say that to say that I do have a background in Christianity, but would I use it as far as my decision making? Of course not. I'm sorry to admit it to some people if you may take it that way, but that is one of the reasons why I'm not active now, is because there's a lot of disagreements that I see, you know, and there's I think you know, I'm kind of like a free thinker in a way, because I like to be acceptance of everybody. Everybody, when we meet somebody from another religion, different creed, like we had last night, Muslims, and we had different nationalities come together, I think that's what I'm behind, like one love type of mentality. So when it comes down to decision making, religion would have nothing to do with my decision, because I understand that the person that's going to be affected by my decision may not be part of my belief. So I hold that into consideration.
Thank you. Ms. Niezgodski, 30 seconds if you'd like it.
All I have to say is we're all in this together in our community, and a decision that a council member makes when you are given the opportunity to serve your community should be based foremost on your district, because that's who you're fighting for and representing, but also for the entire community. So while religious is rooted in many of our lives every day, there may be some people that it's not. So to have a clear understanding to represent everybody in the room, I believe that it should be a separation of church and state.
Thank you. We'll go to some related cards. There has been some controversy surrounding the presence of Women's Whole Health Clinic in our community, along with the Women's Care Center, and as both of you know, some discussion about zoning for those, and a decision by the mayor to veto a zoning that would allow them to be side by side. These cards are 3 cards about your views on abortion and your views about whether or not women's whole health should be allowed in our community. And it goes first to you, Mr. Cantu.
Okay, so the choice, it should be, as far as abortion, hold on, is the question on abortion or whether the clinic should be built?
Well,
sorry.
It's both. They included both.
Okay,
but
so
whether the clinic should be able to operate, and what are your views on abortion?
Okay, so my views on abortion, morally from growing up, being Christian, I'm against it, right? Now, as I go through life, that's one of the reasons, you know, that I mentioned. So I believe that it's very, it comes really very critical. The woman should have the right to have an abortion. Now, is it right what I wanted to do? No, I would want for it not to happen, but it's not my choice. So there's certain reasons that, like, this is, I think, a good question to ask right after your beliefs, because it's going to be up to the people that are going through that situation, up to them to know how to decide. I wish I had more time to fully address the question, but hopefully somebody asks this in the questions when we have that opportunity. Okay, so I'll answer on the contrary, on the flip side, men, and when it comes down to child support and everything, that is something that I want to advocate of as a male that has fell victim to this. I feel I think that men should have a choice at the time of conception, when the baby's being made or whatever. I think there should be an agreement of whether there should be a baby born or not. Please, somebody ask me for that later. Somebody will bring that up.
Thank you. That is actually the second time we've heard a candidate talk about men stepping up. David Hackett, during the at-large candidate forum, volunteered that he had a vasectomy and encouraged all the other men in the room to do so too if they were done having children. So we've had a variety of responses because this issue keeps coming up in these forums.
I wouldn't wish that on my dog. You know, I don't want that to be done on my dog either. You know.
All right, Ms. Niezgodski.
Well, as far as the zoning goes, that is something I'm sure that was presented to the council. And if the zoning was appropriate and the zoning was passed, and that is clinic is legal, Like it, not like it, it is legal. I do believe that women should have access to health care. For me to sit back and say that I'm gonna make a decision based on someone else's life is wrong. I just believe that access to health care for women is under assault. I don't think people have the right to make that decision for them. That decision should be made with them, with their minister, priest, rabbi, whoever it is that they want to bring into their life and their family. Every circumstance is different, and I will not judge a woman based on her right.
Thank you. Mr. Cantu, 30 seconds.
I don't need 30 seconds, I'm sorry.
Okay, no need to rebut. All right, so this.
Well, if I will, just to add on, continue to the point that I was making, as a father, not that I would choose this method, not that I did. I raised a child that I wasn't mine till she was 13 years old. So I am the type of man that would take on the responsibility, but for the sake that, I realize that a woman carries the baby in her belly for 9 months, but if the relationship doesn't stick, then the man has to pay child support for 18 years or go to prison. So I think that should be considered.
Thank you. We now go to the next question. We'll go first to Sheila Niezgodski, and it says, I'm sure you've heard of the IEC, Indiana Enterprise Center project proposed for Western St. Joseph County. What possibilities do you see to bring this project or parts of it to the 6th district? It should produce a large industrial park on 22,000 acres with warehouses included. So I guess,
I'm sorry,
is there any opportunity to bring in the Indiana Enterprise Center, parts of it into the 6th district or something similar, and would you support that?
I honestly am not, I don't have enough information to answer that question.
I vaguely have heard of the issue. I think I was gonna even take a tour out there, but I ended up, I think it was my son's birthday or something. I can't remember what the occasion was. Is that what we're talking about?
Changing farmland into an industrial park. There have been some concerns about the environmental impacts on it, but others suggest that we need the jobs in the county. So this is outside of the 6th district, which is why these candidates may be scratching their heads a bit. But would you support, are there opportunities to do something similar at all in the district?
Okay, so there is a lot of empty spots, a lot of empty land within the city. I'm not sure that we can use that land to fill up and we're gonna benefit from it. Yes, I do. This is the Midwest, it's farmland, so we do gotta be considerate of contaminating the land. I mean, we have a lot of land here within the city that we can't plant on. Why not use that for industrial reasons instead of destroying different lands? I do understand that we got to be part of the 21st century and be able to compete. But I think that we should use TIF district in areas here in the city that are closer.
Thank you. 30 seconds, Mrs. Niezgodski.
Now that I understand the project we're talking about, the only thing that I will say about that project is the replanting of Niezgodski ditch. That is very important to the farmers in our community, and I do not believe that their voices are being heard very loudly. The way that ditch is now supplies water to irrigation for those fields. It prevents flooding in the areas. I think that they need to do a little more research on how that water flows before somebody causes a lot of flooding issues, and that's already prevalent in our community now, and I don't think they need to be messing with something that's already working.
Thank you. The next question will go first to Mr. Cantu. It says, what do you think would be the best physical improvement in your district in the next 4 years? What types of infrastructure is most needed?
I would say if when we talk about this, we talk about public safety, public wellness. I think one of the empowerment things that I would do for neighborhood associations is to establish more community gardens so we could have access to organic foods, parks and hubs. There's been a study where parks kind of a little bit got on the style to where hubs with Wi-Fi and stuff like that are coming into style. So I think those types of investments that we could hone and have a hub for the youth to be part of these mentorship programs and avoid the types of violent situations. This is what we need. So when it comes to physical, not only the streets, curbs, and parks need to be improved, but also consider building hubs.
Ms. Niezgodski.
The physical improvements that I believe need to be made in the 6th district is streets, sidewalks, and curbs. As I've been throughout that district, there are children who can't even ride their bicycle up and down the street. There are huge overgrown trees that have displaced the sidewalks, displaced the curbs. To me, you have to start there in your neighborhoods. The sidewalks, the corners. I was on Dunham and I believe Camden Street, and where these children are picking up a school bus, it's dirt. There used to be a sidewalk, kind of looked like there was part of a sidewalk. Our children deserve better. And for me, we have to start with the infrastructure deep within our neighborhoods.
Mr. Cantu, 30 seconds.
Okay, so like I said, we do need streets, we do need sidewalks, we do need parks, but my thing is, who are these contracts going to? Are they going to minority? Are they going to local businesses? I think that's a true way to empower our neighborhoods, is by giving them contracts, giving them the opportunity to have this empowerment. So yes, I agree. I'm a very big advocate on sidewalks. I used to own a landscaping company, so when the grass is growing, that's a big a pet peeve of mine. And through code, we've helped revitalize that.
Thank you. The next question will go first to Sheila Niezgodski. It says, would you support or oppose a resolution to make South Bend a sanctuary city?
I believe that for our Hispanic and Latino community, there should be a path to citizenship and not deportation. People that want to come and settle in our community, raise their family, find good jobs, and support their families, I am 100% for. I do not know as far as a sanctuary city what that terminology actually means, but what I can tell you is I think that South Bend is a very loving city, and I believe that they are very accepting of people that want to be here. So I can't speak to exactly what that terminology means, but do I believe in a path to citizenship and not deportation? Absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Cantu.
Answer is definitely, and of course there should be a path to but see the plan of having a path was so extensive already. So while that extensive process is going on, then yes, be a sanctuary city while that process. I mean, there's time that takes 10 years for this stuff to go through. I know from personal reasons. My mother had to go through this. My sisters even had to go back to Mexico for years. Her husband, and then come back. It's a big process. So to avoid all of that, all of families being ripped apart for a technicality or a law, it just seems inhumane for a city like South Bend that's trying to be inclusive to everybody.
Thank you. 30 seconds, Ms. Niezgodski.
All I can say is, again, it's opportunities for people that want to come here and have a better life. I believe that the path to citizenship is the way, and that they should have that opportunity.
Thank you. And this next question will go first to Mr. Cantu. It says, I believe that you've already spoken about this topic. Do you believe that drugs are only active in gangs, or do you believe that drugs are active in among white collar positions? How will you deal with drugs and drug problems in more wealthy neighborhoods?
So yes, I'm glad you bring that up again. So no, it's not only involved, and if any, that is the reason GBI is here, and they established the thought behind this types of narcotics and drug sales are done within groups, cliques, family members even. So no, it's not that. And what would I do to address it? Well, pretty much, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have a police department. All we have to do is hold people accountable. you know, to hold these people in high, if there is, I'm not saying there is or there isn't, I'm just saying if there is and if there's a problem to be addressed, then the way I would look at it is hold the people accountable that are supposed to be holding the people accountable. We have a lot of mistrust in the police right now because of that. So I believe if we want to hold, yeah, I mean, I think I'm answering the question in circles, just kind of hold the people accountable.
Sheila Niezgodski.
Well, again, it is working. Could you repeat the question?
Yes. The question is whether or not drugs are active in white-collar communities or professions, and how would you deal with drug possession and use in wealthier neighborhoods?
Okay, so we're talking about, so we do have a police department, as Eli said. And it is pretty well-known fact that drugs are an issue in every family, in every neighborhood. We have a drug epidemic in our community. The access to drugs could be right in your medicine cabinet. It could be prescribed from your doctor. You could get it at school. You could get it at work. So again, we have to reach out into our community and just educate them on the use of drugs, their addictiveness to drugs. As far as putting a class on that, I don't think that there's anybody that's not prone to drug use. As far as gangs, I believe that gangs are one of the main reasons in how that those drugs get, if you're talking heroin, if you're talking crack synthetics of that nature, those are getting in here from gangs, groups, however it is that you want to tailor the name, are coming into our city. Drug abuse on the other levels, such as prescription drug abuse, that is coming from people's homes, and we need to better educate our community about that.
Thank you. 30 seconds if you need it, Mr. Cantu.
Yes, again, it's a misconception, and it's this misconception that we have on people that keeps us at a 40% voter registration. These people are not part of the process because of this. They wouldn't dare to come to the county city building for a meeting just because they don't trust the process. Why? Because they're already judged before they're there. So again, I would like to be a little bit more inclusive and open-minded to the other 60% of the city.
Thank you. Our next question will go first to Sheila Niezgodski. It says, why did you choose to do this kind of work? How does your education or other background experiences prepare you for this work? What skills do you think you bring to the job?
Well, I ran for this position 4 years ago for this seat in the 6th District. And I had, when that seat became open, when Oliver Davis decided to run for mayor, I decided to run for this seat again. What I have seen in the 6th District is some changes, but what I also see is we still have crumbling sidewalks. We still have curbs that need repaired. We still have children that can't fully ride their bikes, skateboards, down the sidewalks, even some of them down the streets. As far as my education, I have an associate degree from IUSB. My background, I was in the military. If I can make it through basic training, if I can make it through a war, I believe that I can straighten out the 6th District. It needs help. I'm sick and tired of us being left behind for far too long. Nothing's changed in 4 years. Small changes, but I believe it's time to fight for that district, and I'm going to fight for every single dollar that we can put in those neighborhoods because our kids deserve it.
Thank you. Mr. Cantu.
So I'm 34 years old, and I'm the type of guy that everything's going according to plan. I'll put my headphones on, do my work, and you won't hear a peep from me. But obviously, it's not the way here in South Bend. I feel that in my age group right here, I can identify with a lot of people from my neighborhood that are part of the problem. I've gone through the same struggles, and I'm still going through the same struggles that people are going through right now in my district. I think I can identify with them. I've gone to school. I've studied criminal justice. I know the models of that we've gone through. I know what it takes, and I know what. I'm running for the 6th District because I don't believe that there is somebody else that could address the issues like I can. There are a big majority of the Hispanic community right there in the 6th District that is not like that in any other town. I mean, in any part of the city. I don't think that my people will be properly addressed unless somebody fully understands their struggles. I speak their language. I know their struggles. I know what they need. Not only because I've spoke to them, because I am part of it. I am part of the 6th District, not only because I live there, but because I understand the struggles that it's going through right now. And in order to know how to address it, then you really have to understand them.
Thank you. 30 seconds, Ms. Niezgodski.
The 6th District is made up of, there's still Polish, Hungarian, Caucasian, African American, Latino, and Hispanics. And what I will do is represent everyone in our district. We need to make sure that our community comes together. Our district is special. It could be a destination district. It has so potential. When I look down Sample Street, when I look down Olive Street, I look at that icebox sitting there. Why isn't there restaurants around that? Why isn't there more places for those kids to engage with their families? I will fight for that 6th District, for everyone.
Thank you. The next question is about tax abatements. This voter says, the Buttigieg administration has given away over $122 million in tax abatements while continuing to pass deficit budgets. Will you be voting for tax abatements? And this goes first to Mr. Cantu.
Tax abatements, who are they going to? I would like, what I would like to do about tax abatements is hold once again accountable. Have a paper trail. Where is this money going to? Is it really being going to where it's supposed to be going to? I think that's the one thing I have to say about tax abatements. It's not something I fully understand. Like TIF is something that I've dove into recently, but when it comes down to giving people breaks that are coming here, I think it's something that should be done. But whenever we do that, I think we should recognize South Bend for the things the beautiful things we have here. Don't sell ourselves short when we have people coming here and building here. We are a comeback city. We should be proud of that. People should want to come and build here. Yes, we should offer tax abatements, but we shouldn't sell ourselves short. It shouldn't be like a lure, like we should lure people here, because this is a growing city. And if I were to make these agreements, that's the way I would present South Bend, as a comeback city, as a place to be at. Yeah.
Thank you. Sheila Niezgodski.
Tax abatements are a tool. For companies that want to invest in our community, it is used here and in many other cities. Most of them have, say, a 5-year tax abatement. It is a phase-in. It is not a complete forgiveness of taxes. If they want to come and invest in a structure and bring that to life, they can say they're going to bring jobs. How many jobs? How well are those jobs being paid? Do those jobs provide benefits to their employees? Are you paying them a good wage? So there's a lot of things that you can ask when someone wants to come to ask for a tax abatement. However, it is a tool that is very useful in stimulating economic growth within the community. There's also clawback measures that you can put in that. So if they fail to meet their obligations on the specific requirement or the specifics of that tax abatement, we should be putting clawback measures to make sure that we can retract what it is that they didn't promise, what they didn't fulfill their promise to be.
Thank you. Mr. Cantu, 30 seconds.
Yeah, like I said, hold people accountable. The contract should be very clear on what the company is going to be offering, and everything should be clear so we could hold accountable. I agree.
Thank you. I did warn the candidates there may be a challenge question if they came in for both candidates. So we will ask those now, and this will be the last candidate. The rest are questions like these. The rest will go to both candidates. The first challenge question is for Sheila Niezgodski. This card says, you have done over $1.4 million of business with the city of South Bend. Are you willing to give up over $1 million in city contracts for a council seat and abstain from votes involving your business or customers for tax abatements, TIF, and zoning?
Well, what I will say is I am proud of our family business. We have been in business since 1922. And there is a process that you have to do in order to do work for the city of South Bend, and we have met that process. We have demonstrated that we hold the proper bondings, that we have the proper licensures, of what we are paying our people is a good wage, retirement wage. We've demonstrated the projects that we have done over 97 years in our community. We are a family-owned business. We promote women businesses. There are 2 women in our business and 3 males. So for me, it's just not my business. And actually, the 4th generation is now coming into that business. So I am proud of the work that we do. We have done work, like I said, in this community for 97 years.
Thank you. Mr. Cantu,
Yeah, is that a question for me?
you can address it if you'd like.
I don't have
Pass.
anything to,
Okay, here's the question to you. It says, Mr. Cantu, I read an article in the South Bend Tribune that worried me. Are you or have you ever been investigated for drug possession or distribution?
Yes, I am facing a charge as we speak. It's the main thing that has, that's kind of, I'll say this, and I'll go on camera and talk about it, even though it's an open case. This case happened back in, I think, April, and I was pulled over. Somebody was giving me a ride. I was pulled over. He admitted that everything was his, but I still got charged with possession because it was within my arm's distance. These are the types of people that I'm talking about that I know personally. I know people that are normally, that are really going through struggles with drugs and alcohol and the gangs and these are the people that I've come to have great respect from because I'm part of all the same things that they're part of. I don't mean to say that in that way, but these are the things that are in my vicinity and that I'm not strange to. So when it comes down to address their issues, to better understand the 6th District for what the issues that we're having, that somebody that is very close to it like I am. Is it right for me to be partaking in these things? No, it's not. Am I innocent? Yes, I am, and I think that's going to be proven in a court of law. Is it something that I understand that troubles you? Yes, I understand, and I'm glad and open to talk about this freely, personally, with anybody at any time.
Thank you. And Ms. Niezgodski, comment or pass? Pass.
No comment.
Okay, let's move on then to this next question, which asks about people suffering from mental illness in our community. It says, do you view mental illness as an issue within our city and within your district specifically? If so, is there anything city council people can do to better include people and help people suffering from mental illness? And this goes first to Eli Cantu.
Yes, it's a big issue that we have here. Yes, we can do something to address it. And it goes back to starting at its infancy. What is the mental issues? When do they start? I think it's a good way for us to understand the toxic stress when the first 5 years of our child's life, the toxic stress that they go through. They cause whether they're going to be prone to diseases, they're going to be prone to being aggressive. A lot of these things happen then. So these are definitely things that we are, as Albanians, if you will, are struggling. And can we do something? Of course we can do something. What we can establish more things like Oakland, things like the Fuse program that we have. I don't know if we're going to get into that, but I think a big part of being rehabbed and coming out of depression, coming out of being helped with mental issues is kind of like it takes like a rehab. You know, you have to be reconditioned back into society. So it's definitely a big, huge problem that is happening here in the streets of South Bend, and not even in the streets. I mean, this happens to people in wealthy homes, just in toxic environments. So this is definitely something that I would push firmly to address as a councilman.
Thank you. Sheila Niezgodski.
Well, mental health issues come in many forms. Some can be addressed with your family, some of them cannot. It's really a question of resources. Does that person have the resources to even pay for it? And does his insurance even cover it? Is there a family member that can help them recognize that they have an issue and help guide them to get the proper care? As a community or a councilwoman, sure, it's about services. How are we directing them? Is there departments that can help them? And it's just not, like Eli said, it's just like we have mental health issues roaming the streets. Like I said, it comes in many ways. It all comes down to resources in our community and what can we do to help them.
Thank you. Mr. Cantu, 30 seconds.
It goes back to really understanding, and it goes back to how are we addressing, how are we making this information accessible. I don't know if we're going to touch this or not because I don't know what kind of questions we're going to be asked, but I'm a big advocate of neighborhood associations. I think we need more of them. In the 6th District, we only have one, which is the Brum Village Neighborhood Association. Through having these types of, not only one, but more, I think we need at least 4 or 5 more. The more the better, because that way we could either listen to more, address more, and yeah.
Thank you. That actually, we do have a question related to that. It says, to what extent is homelessness and deep poverty a problem in your district? Do you think that religious communities and neighborhood associations could do more to help the council address this problem? This goes first to you, Sheila Niezgodski.
Well, it's supportive housing, finding supportive housing for the homeless. I don't know if it's, could you repeat the question? Did you say in my district specifically?
Yeah.
Right now, we do have the Oliver Inn Apartments in the 6th District. That is a permanent supportive healthy for our homeless there. We do have to come up with that solution within our community as a whole. We have done our part in the community to address that issue, and I believe it's important. I believe that everybody deserves to live in dignity, and I believe that the city and the other parts of the city need to step up and help with this issue.
Mr. Cantu.
Yes, so it's definitely something that we could do something about, and this is what I'm talking about when I would like to change the name of neighborhood associations to empowerment associations, because of the things that I hope I get time to talk about that, but that's what I want to entail with empowerment. When it comes down to homeless, again, they're used to being out in the streets. They get used to this. They get conditioned to this. So when we put them in places like Fuse, which is I'm a big supporter of, I know them, I talk to them. But what I don't think we're doing, that we should be doing, is holding them accountable. They're able, even though they have a home, they don't have to have a job. They can still roam the streets. They're still living the same type of lifestyle. So, it almost accounts for nothing, I want to say. I don't want to speak negative of it because I'm a supporter of it. But I think we really need to really hone down on the issue. Not just address it, but just make sure we address it correctly to where it's going to be effective. These people have big issues, you know what I mean? They really have to be reconditioned. Giving them a home without giving them mentoring, on how to relive, how to rethink life. And I'm telling you, because I see these guys in the middle of the street and they have a very nice room that they can be in, but they want to be on the sidewalk. So this is a mental issue that comes with homelessness. It's the reconditioning that we have to really address to make them back part of society. Not only make them get a job, but make them be part of society, like in the neighborhood association, helps with the gardens, help us take pride in the neighborhood, because that is really what brings you back to being part of the neighborhood when we have pride in it.
Thank you. The next question will go first to you, Mr. Cantu. It says, the police tape controversy and the death of Eric Logan has brought to light the mistrust between the community and the police, particularly when it comes to issues of race. Do you believe that systemic racism is a problem in South Bend and the country at large, and how would you address it, if so?
Yes, it is a big issue. The tapes, I'm actually an advocate. We were just doing a report about this yesterday. The reason I'm a big advocate about it is because it's known. It's something that the people already know of it. I remember back in 2012, and I worked with Boykins for about maybe 6-7 years in the police gym. When we first heard about this demotion, it kind of hurt all of us. So it's not just that Boykin was hurt. We were all hurt because there's no trust there. So in order for us to be healed from this wound, this trust wound, we definitely need to hear these types, and that they need to be candid about what's on them, and just it really open up light on a lot of other systemic racism within the department. But I think that is, I'm a firm believer, and as a council member, I would seek to find it and seek to go after it, because I think in order to be truly inclusive of everybody, we need to establish that trust. There's a reason why minorities are not joining the force, because there are a lot of racial issues in the force. So that goes to say a lot when we have police officers themselves making these reports. So with that being said, I think if we're really going to bridge the gap between the neighborhood and the police, we have to address the systemic racism in the departments, in the city, or in anything else.
Sheila Niezgodski.
Yes, could you repeat the question?
Yes, the police tape controversy and the death of Eric Logan shed light on the mistrust between the community and the police, particularly when it comes to matters of race. Do you believe there is systemic racism in South Bend and in the country? If so, how would you address it?
Okay. There is systemic racism in every community, and especially throughout our whole country. People may not even recognize what systemic racism is. It could be a matter of someone walking into a grocery store to buy a candy bar, and they're already profiling who you are based on how you look, how you're dressed, whether you're black, brown, Hispanic, white, whatever it is. Systemic racism is a real thing, and you may not even realize you have it. But I believe that everyone does, to some degree, have systemic racism. As far as the police tapes, I believe in full transparency of the tapes. For our community to be able to heal, if the courts, where it is tied up now, decides to release those tapes, they need to release the tapes. We need, and what may be said on those tapes may be hurtful to a lot of people in our community, and they don't want to hear what's on it. But it's the only way that we're going to be able to come together as a community and start healing, start trusting, and start building together again.
Mr. Cantu, 30 seconds.
Just to furthermore, this is something that affects all of us. Even with the Trey Martinez, we had a case where his family member was killed, slit his throat, and the man just got 6 years for that. Where it just so happened that in his his own family, his cousin got 50 years for doing almost the same thing. So these types of inconsistencies across the board make people not trust the process, not trust the government, not trust the police, not fall victim to this systemic racism.
Thank you. This next question says, turnout in municipal elections seems to range between 10 and 15% of the eligible voters. What can we do to get more people involved in the elections, and especially between elections, taking an active role in their city government? Sheila Niezgodski.
Holding forums like this, the League of Women Voters, information, getting it out to the public on how important it is that your vote counts. Your vote counts for so many things that government influences in your life. For me, going door to door, engaging people, and say, I don't live here anymore. No, I'm not registered to vote. Once you start talking with them and understanding a civic duty, that it's their children. It's about your right to drive, zoning issues. Every government touches every part of your life. I don't know if that's enough to get people to encourage them to get out and register to vote, but I believe it is a civic obligation for you to do so.
Thank you. Ida Cantu.
So again, being inclusive is my main priority. Again, we have 60% of the population roughly that are not registered. And about the 40% that are, like you said, only 50% vote. Why are they not voting? Because they don't trust the process. It goes back to saying we got to be inclusive, but not only have open forums, information for people to come and draw this information from, but we have to also not judge the way they are. We are all people. And this is what I'm saying when it comes to drug users, or when it comes down to people that get affiliated with certain clubs and gangs and everything. These are still people here in our city. Now, either we choose to ignore them, either we choose to push them aside, judge them by how they are, or we accept them as part of our process. Am I asking to accept the things that are unjustly? No. Unlawfully? No. But am I asking for a transparent look to everybody? This is what's going to make them. This is why they don't participate, because they don't trust the process. They don't feel inclusive. And if we really want to be a true representation of South Bend, we have to be inclusive with everybody. We got to accept everybody's differences. Not only do we have to, present the information, but really actually take it to them and make it to where they want to be part of the process because they trust it. So this has everything to do with addressing systemic racism and everything else, so they can trust this process.
Thank you. 30 seconds.
Yeah, I tend to not agree with that statement. Voting is a habit. Voting is learned. Voting is when you were a little child and you went to the voting booth with your mom and dad and watched them pull the lever, as we used to do back in the day here. And it starts for us with the League of Women Voters. I have went into the high schools and talked with students. Once you talk with them and have them understand how important that vote comes to their education, driving privileges, tuition rates that are set by the state, it becomes very clear to them how important voting is. It's engaging them and letting them know that they need to be active in the decisions that are being made, and that is done at the ballot box.
Thank you. I told the candidates we do about 60 minutes for the debate, so we're at that mark. We will allow folks to have time then for one-on-one questions. There are a number of, after closing statements, there are a number of questions from students who were interested to hear more about the role of religion in the 6th District. So you can talk to the candidates individually about their views and what they observe in the district. We'll hear now from the candidates directly about why they deserve your vote on Election Day. And based on a coin toss, we will hear first from Eli Cantu.
So I'm asking for your vote because like I said, I've identified with everything that we have going in the 6th District. As a coach, to bring this up, everybody, all the Mexicans from my neighborhood, they used to say, hey, do this for the Latinos, do this for us. And I said, no, we would cheat ourselves. So I want to say that to say this. I told them, and not to be exact, but I said, man, a lot of white people that we know, they know the jiu-jitsu, and they know the technicality of the game. A lot of black people that we know have a lot of strength. A lot of Mexicans have a lot of heart. We put this all together, now we have a real team. So I am one of the people that would represent everybody in the 6th District. I do identify with everybody. I do understand the struggles, and I will be a good team captain as I am a fighter to my guys. I will fight for the things that we need here in the 6th District. I'm very relentless and aggressive. Today I'm very nervous, to be honest, and I thank you for bearing with me here. I've never been part of anything like this, but it's because I've never been part of anything like this, and people around me have never been part of anything like this, that I'm doing this. I'm doing this not only for myself, but for the people around me, for the 60% of South Bend that is not included. This is why I'm doing it, because I believe if we're going to be part of South Bend as a comeback, then we have to do it together. We cheat ourselves if we don't really take tally of everybody's attributes in this city. If we really want to be a true, inclusive, and transparent, I hope for your vote, and I hope you see past the things that I lived through.
Thank you. Sheila Niezgodski.
Over the past year, I have met with thousands of residents within the 6th District. I'll stand up for neighborhoods, businesses, and residents for opportunities that many in our city enjoy every day. We have been left behind far too long. As a businesswoman, I believe I have the skills to make our neighborhoods grow. I also believe that I will fight for the right for your voice and my voice and make a difference in the 6th District. On November 5th, I'll ask for your vote and consider me your new councilwoman for the 6th District. Thank you.
Let's have a round of applause for both candidates. page, you can find information about upcoming events. Also, on the American Democracy Project and League of Women Voters of the South Bend area websites, you can find footage of past candidate forums and debates. And if you have a little survey, if you could fill that out for us, we would greatly appreciate your feedback. Please join the candidates for a reception in this next room right over here. It looks like my son has everything ready for us, so please make him feel like his efforts were worthwhile. Have a little snack before bed and ask any questions that didn't get asked tonight. Thank you so much for being here. Good night.
I was so nervous, you know. I was kind of excited, nervous, all at the same time. I felt like a